let's consider whether some statements are libelous or not, whether they're safe to say in a news story or whether they're dangerous. The first one, the police officers said they shot and wounded Ira Andrews, a 41-year-old auto mechanic, because he was rushing towards them with a knife. What do you think? Is that safe to write or not? It actually is not safe to write. It is dangerous. The sentences imply that Andrews is guilty of assault on the police officers, even though he has not been convicted and his version of the incident has not been heard. Because it appears to be based on unofficial statements by the officers, it's not protected by qualified privilege. Let's try another one. Testifying during the second day of his trial, Mrs. Andrea Cross said her husband Lee never intended to embezzle the $70,000, but that a secretary, Allison O'Hara, persuaded him that their actions were legal. Her husband thought they were borrowing the money, she said, and that they would double it by investing in real estate. What do you think, safe or dangerous? That one is actually safe. So long as their accounts are fair and accurate, news writers are immune from libel suits while reporting official government proceedings such as trials. Let's try another. A 72-year-old woman, Kelly Cassandra, of 9847 East Brook Lane, has been charged with attempting to pass a counterfeit $20 bill. A convenience store clerk called the police shortly after 8 a.m. today and said she had received a suspicious-looking bill. The clerk added that she had written down the license number of a car leaving the store. The police confirmed the fact that the $20 bill was counterfeit and arrested Mrs. Cassandra at her home about an hour later. Is that safe to say? Yes, it is safe to say. The reason why is because the story is carefully worded. It never says Cassandra is guilty, only that she's been charged with the crime. Let's consider this one. Police said the victim, Catherine White of 4218 Bell Ave, was too intoxicated to be able to describe her assailant. Is that safe to say? No, it is clearly libelous because it declares that White was a drunk. Only official government proceedings, not the statements made by a police officer, are protected by privilege. Consider this one. I've never lived in a city where the officials are so corrupt, Joyce Andrews, a Cleveland developer, complained. If you don't contribute to their campaigns, they won't do anything for you or even talk to you. You have to buy their support. Is that safe to say or dangerous? It is actually safe to say. Americans are free to criticize government agencies and officials. A large city may employ thousands of people and have a dozen or more elected officials, and this story does not identify any of them by name. Consider this one. The newspaper's restaurant reviewer complained, "I've had poor service before, but nothing this incompetent. The service at the Heritage Inn wasn't just slow, it was awful. When she finally did get to us, the waitress didn't seem to know what was on the menu. Then she brought us the wrong drinks. When we finally got our food, it was cold and tasteless. I wouldn't even feed it to my dog. In fact, my dog wouldn't even eat it. The stuff doesn't even smell good." Now that is a pretty in-your-face sort of quote. Is that okay to say in a news story? Yes, it is. The doctrine of fair comment protects journalists who criticize, even harshly, products that are offered to the public. All right, consider this one. Police Chief Barry Copperwood said, "We've been after Guterman for years. He's the biggest drug dealer in the city, but it took months to gather the evidence and infiltrate his operations. His arrest last night was the result of good police work, and we've got the evidence to send him away for 20 or 30 years. Is that safe to say? You've got a police chief on record is actually saying that he's a drug dealer, the biggest drug dealer in the city. So that should be okay, right? No, it's actually not okay, and it is clearly libelous. Before any determination by a court, it convicts Guterman, calling him the biggest drug dealer in the city. The story is also unfair to Guterman. If months later a jury finds him innocent, his reputation would have been ruined by this story." And the last one we're going to consider today. There was an emergency meeting of about 100 angry parents at the Wisconsin Avenue branch of the YMCA at 8 p.m. yesterday, with its director, Marty Wilging, presiding. Wilging said he called the meeting to calm the parents' fears and to respond to rumors. A parent asked whether it was true that the YMCA's janitor had been dismissed for molesting several boys. Wilging responded that there had been some unfortunate incidences and that the janitor had been discharged, but some of the allegations were exaggerated. When asked whether the police had been called in, Wilking assured that they had and that their investigation is continuing. He assured the parents that the YMCA will see that the matter is resolved appropriately. Is that dangerous to say? Or is it safe to say? Will it get you sued or will it not? What do you think? It is actually dangerous to say, and this is why. The janitor has not been charged with a crime. Yet people who read this story may know the janitor's identity, even though his name isn't used, and conclude that he is guilty of molesting several boys. I hope this has given you some things to think about.